Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back to the Dynasty Wonderland podcast with me, your host, the Mad Chatter, Ryan MK, and alongside me, well, as always now, the March Heron. I still love that. I'm sorry. I still love that. Aaron Stewart, the gift. Thank you very much for being by my side in this Mad Tea Party once again.
Well, thank you for having me again. I'm ready to
Of
have some
course.
fun today.
Yes. Teams from a hat. We have no idea how this is going to go, but we're excited. So we'll see. Definitely check out our social media. Check us out. Me on Twitter at RMK Madness. Him on Twitter at Aaron Stew. That's AA Ron. Aaron Stew 09. Check us out and our content on playerprofiler.com, which is looking very smooth as of late, is it not?
Oh yeah, I'm loving the new website design there. It's very sleek. Woke up this morning, it's like Christmas.
I know. I was sitting there actually typing the article that is going to come out tomorrow. Look for it. More methods of madness. Dynasty methods of madness. That's right. Embrace the fade. This one is called. But I was in the middle of working on that, and I'm hopping over to Player Profiler to check out shit. And oh my goodness, it looks so different. Look at all this extra stuff. Look at how nice it is. Oh my goodness, I love this. What is this? How is this happening? And I get on Twitter and I see your comment and I'm like, yes, this is great. I love this. It's awesome. Just awesome.
Absolutely.
Glad to be a part of. I am. And I hope you had a good Easter. Not sure, how much you do with that sort of thing. You know me, I'm not the most religious, but the wife is, so we do the whole Easter thing, and it's fun. I like seeing the kids get their Easter baskets, and I like toys too, to be honest. So we tend to get them, more toys than candy because they don't need all that sugar. And Dad likes to play with the toys. So
Well,
I hope, if anything, you had a good Sunday.
absolutely. And I got a nice, pleasant surprise too because my sister gave birth. So I'm up to niece number
Oh shit!
4. Yeah, I'm
There
building
you
a
go.
softball team
Congrats.
here. Oh, thank you.
Yes. I know. I always think about the kids. They're all so into music. My oldest, who is 21. Yes, I know. I don't look like I should have a 21-year-old, but I do. Teen parent, but he is a drummer like myself, but I kind of play a little bit of everything. And the kids, they're both just so into music and they want to get into learning an instrument. And so I'm just like, I'm going to build a band. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to have a band full of metalheads because they all like the rock music too. And that's what I listen to. So that's cool. And, but yeah, so good times, good times. Yeah. You get your softball team. I'll get my band and yeah, we'll come play at your games. 7th inning stretch.
That works for me.
And March Madness, that shit ended. Well, in quite spectacular fashion, I would say. Baylor just beating the shit out of undefeated Gonzaga, which I actually found refreshing. I don't know. And Baylor, I don't know how into, that you are. I know you're in Texas though. So, got to be cool seeing a Texas team take it down.
I've driven through Waco. I've seen their massive new stadium, and you just gotta feel good for Baylor fans that have just. It's been a rough half decade for
Right.
them, dealing with all the stuff. So it's a feel good story there. I want to say I saw this stat that Baylor was the first team since 2003 to win a national championship basketball that didn't feature the color blue. So I'm on board with that. Like I like something different.
You go. There you go. And yeah, I like something different too. And it was just impressive. They just mopped the floor with Houston and then Gonzaga. And I'm just like, okay, there you go. There you go. Impressive. So crazy. My bracket was terrible, so we won't discuss much about that. I think I saw yours wasn't doing a whole hell of a lot better, Mr. Aaron.
Yeah, I had one where it was like no matter what happened, I picked Gonzaga to win. But even if they had won, I wouldn't have had the top bracket in our little group. So
Yeah.
you just at that point you just get to enjoy a game, and that is kind of it's relieving. But what's funny is the people that chose Baylor to win, like. And they should have won the bracket challenge. The people in our group didn't win enough games. So a person that picked Gonzaga to win had the best bracket in our little 20-person group.
Crazy. It's crazy how it all works. I had no shot this year, but I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it, particularly the Final Four, because the UCLA Gonzaga game was also awesome with the
Crazy.
buzzer beater and all of that. And that game was really just back and forth because I didn't watch a ton, really, as much as I normally would of March Madness, but I did see pretty much all of that game, and that shit was back and forth the entire way. So good stuff. Adios NCAA tournament. Bring on the NBA and NHL playoffs because once we get that, I love this time of year. And then after that, we know we're just one step closer to the foosball.
Absolutely.
So speaking of the foosball, yes, absolutely. Let's get into it. A little bit of news before we start our game. The biggest, Sam Darnold traded to the Carolina Panthers. Now, for me, I'm a believer that Gase just totally ruins fucking everything he touches, and so I am curious because I liked Sam Darnold coming out. I am curious to see what he does in Carolina with Joe Brady, Matt Rule, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, CMC. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. What say you, March Heron?
I'm in the same boat as you. I think this is the perfect landing spot for Sam Darnold to go to a team that's got two great coaches. As you talked about, Matt Rule is an excellent head coach. He's proved it everywhere he's gone, including Baylor, but also Joe Brady. It just seems that the Joe Brady system really just dumbs things down for quarterbacks, and that's a good thing because especially you got a young quarterback who is just dealt with Adam Gase is the best way to put it. I think he has the quote about seeing ghosts, So going to a team that they're going to build a system, they're going to spread it out. It's going to be back to having fun for Darnold, but it's a make or break year, and we saw with the compensation, they don't even really get anything this draft class. They get a random 6-rounder. I was looking at their draft picks. The Jets have like 3 6-rounders. So it's either going to be the top of the 6th round or the end. I didn't see any details on that. But a 2nd and 4th next year, it kind of reminds me of what Josh Rosen got when he got burned out in, what was that, in Arizona?
Arizona.
Yeah, before he got traded. So it's this for dynasty purposes with Sam Darnold. If you have him, you hold him, and you hope he shows something this year. But it's not much of a commitment if he stinks it up this year. Carolina will try to go quarterback next year. I had a feeling that they were going to have to do something outside the box when the trade last week with the Dolphins. When the Dolphins traded with the 49ers, it was like, okay, you know that Jaguars are going to get Trevor Lawrence. The Jets are going to go quarterback, and the 49ers trade all this draft capital to get a quarterback. You knew it was quarterback's first 3, and the 4th team is the Falcons. Yeah, they're not going to help Carolina get a franchise quarterback, so I'm not surprised that they did a trade. That makes me sad. I really wanted Trey Lance in Carolina.
Yeah. I liked that too, but I wonder, the news also came out today with Atlanta and Detroit possibly being willing to move back. So could that potentially, because I saw that and then it wasn't much later, the Darnold news, and I'm like, because the Panthers, because for me, that's saying we're open for business if you want to come up and get one of these fucking quarterbacks, is what that's saying to me. And maybe not necessarily a quarterback, because, these quarterbacks start going, that's going to leave, other players, offensive linemen, defensive players. So, you never know which way a team's going to go, but that does open things up a little bit. So I was kind of intrigued by Trey Lance to Carolina, but I'm also okay with this personally because I have something coming up later. So if you get this particular team, I'll just have to step in just for a quick second to talk about this. But yeah, that's kind of my deal with it, is that Darnold to Carolina, I'm excited to see how it goes. But you say not a big investment, so it's okay if they can move on if he stinks it up this year. But does that mean they could still be in play at that spot to get a quarterback? Because I would lean no, but if it's not a huge investment, could they still? What do you think?
I think these NFL teams, they even though we as fans don't know what's going on, there's always chatter around the league, and I, I don't think the Panthers make this trade unless they're pretty certain that the quarterback's going to fall to them. But if NFL draft gets crazy, maybe a Mac Jones, maybe Trey Lance even falls to pick 8. I know we like the profile, but is there some hesitancy when you see what Carson Wentz, who came from the same college and kind of struggled a little bit, and he was viewed as more of a more pro-ready quarterback than Trey Lance. So we could see a quarterback's fall to them, but I think it goes with what you're talking about with Atlanta and Detroit. There's teams in front of Carolina that could absolutely trade those picks to teams that need QBs. And Carolina was just in the weird spot. As I mentioned, like them doing a deal with Atlanta. Atlanta's probably not helping their division rival get their franchise quarterback. And
Right.
for pick 7, like they're picking pick 8. What are you really going to give up to move up one spot? So
Right.
it's just an awkward spot. I think Carolina, they did what they needed to do. It was a rough spot. They should have, if they wanted to get their guy, done what the 49ers did, but that was a steep price as well.
Right. And hey, I like this. It's cheap. If you get it figured out, great. If you don't, try again next year.
Absolutely.
Speaking of this quarterback class, this rookie class, Justin Fields, some shit out there about him and work ethic and things like that, and a first read kind of quarterback, and I don't know. I saw some stats that it looks like he's pretty damn good after the first read. So I'm kind of curious. I haven't studied these guys enough. I don't know how much you know, but to me, this just seems like, I mean, I hate to sound like conspiracy theory, but this kind of shit happens like kind of like bashing the black quarterback because I don't understand some of the stuff because what I'm seeing and hearing is the opposite. So I don't know. I don't know. What say you?
Well, it's the time of the year where you're going to hear so much just BS, quite frankly, with teams,
So true.
and I've learned to not listen to what's being said, but to follow the actions. Perfect example is Dwayne Haskins a couple of years ago. You know, we all thought Haskins was going to be the QB number 2 off the board. He was going to go early, and then he slips to the middle of the first round, and it's like what? Like what in the world? Why Daniel Jones? Why not Dwayne Haskins? Turns out there may have been more problems, more maturity issues, is what it seems. I always think back to the cell phone shenanigans where they had to put in the backup quarterback for one play.
Mm,
With Justin Fields, like I'm not worried unless we see a similar thing in the draft where the top 10 picks go and Justin Fields still isn't picked. It's
mm.
a lesson I also learned with Darius Guice, like when after he's drafted, and then like you wonder why this guy that looks like a great running back prospect, you're like, how in the world did he fall so far? And they talk about maturity issues. Like I'm trying to learn from my mistakes, and I'm going to listen to the chatter after the draft. I want to
Mm.
see where Justin Fields goes. It may just be that teams are just trying to get him to fall because he's in play for pick 4. Like it seems that Zach Wilson is the guy that the Jets are going for, and we're hearing more Mac Jones
It would
and
appear
Trey
so.
Lance for 49ers than Justin Fields. So could just be a
Mm.
team trying to sabotage things and hoping that he falls to them.
It is interesting, but I do agree with you. Let the draft tell the tale.
Absolutely.
So, and then there were some more pro days since we last spoke. I don't want to talk about a lot about it, me personally. You can speak because I was crushed by a one Javante Williams pro day. I'm a little sad about it. But other than that, I'm fine. But you, Aaron, is there
It's
anything you learned
It's the
besides
same. It's this draft class. Like it was going into
ah?
this past season. We were told it was going to be a great class. It was maybe not. It wasn't going to have the same running backs as last year, but the quarterbacks are great. The wide receivers were just as good, if not better than last year. There was going to be so many good tight ends because last year didn't really have anything. at tight end. And it just seems that each passing pro day, I just go, I don't want to pick at all. It's just
No,
devastating. The Javonte Williams was like, it was our chance to have like our savior at running back, because
right.
we know the top two. Javonte Williams was making a case to even surpass like Travis Etienne. Some people even liked him over Najee. And then when the comparison is David Montgomery that I've been hearing a lot of, I'm like, oh, that
Right.
hurts my
It
soul
does.
a lot.
It does. Hurts mine as well. And I do start to get the feeling that it, it, it's like I'm okay. Normally I want the running backs because you want the young running backs. That's what you
Right.
do. But here I'm like, if I've got a first round pick, I might go receiver in this one. And then get Mr. Kenny Gainwell in the second if I can. I mean, that seems like the best route to take in this draft, which is weird. But I don't know, because it doesn't feel like the receiver class is great, but it does feel like there's a few guys, and Jamar Chase. I mean, and then the running back class is kind of like, okay. Like I said, I'll wait for Gainwell at this point, and then you got the quarterbacks, of course. So super flex, you're loaded there and you're good to go, because I do like kind of like all these guys. So I'm
Yeah.
intrigued by all of them. So it's a fucking weird draft, man. It's a weird draft.
Yeah. I think there's some potential for some like late round gems. There's was Elijah Mitchell, the University of Louisiana running back. He
Yes.
at least tested out well. It was like, oh my goodness, we finally get a guy that tests out well. Of course, being a small school running back, how well is it
Right.
going to translate to the NFL? We'll have to see. And yeah, it was like each of these receivers you talked about, it's like, man, they got some great things on their profile, and then some massive question marks. Rashad Bateman, killer, weighing in at 190. It's you were listed at 210. You were like our perfect analytical prospect, but now it's like, well, if what is he going to play at? I know that there was story about COVID causing him to lose weight, but it's still concerning. That's
Did
a
not hear that.
20-pound difference.
Right. Yeah. It's just it's red flags abound. Yeah. But we move on. And before we get into our game, one final thing. From what I read, it sounds like Larry Fitzgerald is nearing retirement. And all I can say is I salute you, you bad motherfucker, you, with a beautiful ass. I don't normally say that about guys, but like you can't help it. It's a thing. People talk about his booty. So I had to look, and I'm like, good God, it is. It's like a perfect man butt. Like I wish I had that kind of man butt, but it's just, yeah, props to him and his career, because it was great. Was a big fan of Larry Fitz. I always hoped, there was, when I was rooting for the Vikings during a period of time, I always hoped he would come back to Minnesota, because, as you know, he's a ball boy there early on in his youth. And so I was like, I always wanted him to come back to Minnesota. And he never did. He never did. Maybe he'll not retire and go there this year. That'd be crazy. He shouldn't. He shouldn't. Don't go there. Mike Zimmer's still there.
Well, and he's such a nice guy. Like Fitzgerald is one of the few genuine players where it didn't matter. It doesn't matter who you root for your team. And Fitzgerald, he had that smile. Seemed to be one of the few nice guys in the league, and I feel for him that he didn't win that elusive Super Bowl. Got close.
Yeah,
got so
it is
close.
a shame. So damn close.
Yeah. But if this is the end of his career, like as you mentioned, we salute him. What a heck of a career to have the longevity, the amount of dominance. I know newer fans of fantasy football, they have not been impressed the last 2 or 3 seasons, but still, like what
they don't even know.
They don't know. Like players, it's rare. Like these receivers in the rookie class, if any of them have this type of career, they'll be lucky.
Agreed. All right, Mr. Aaron, take a quick break, come back, and we're going to get into names from a hat. I got a big old long hat, so I have to reach it's going to be fun. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. We're ready to roll here. Me and Mr. Aaron. I've got the hat. Yes, I do. This big bastard right here. And so we're just gonna get it going. Aaron, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? How we didn't even talk about that. Holy shit. I don't have a coin to flip or anything.
You know what? I'm ready for any team, so you go ahead. I think you said there's one team that you don't want at all, so maybe you'll draw it right here and give it to me.
Ooh, I've got the Patriots. So you say I'm going first, or is it you?
Do you want the Patriots? I'll let you go first.
Okay. I don't really want to. No, I'll take them. I thought it was me. That's why I started to go, okay. All right. I mean, it's got to be they've got to, I want to say they got to get receiver help, but they just do such a shit job in both free agency and the draft of accumulating wide receiver talent. So I kind of hope they don't draft a running back, because I like Damian Harris, and I would like to see what he could do this year if he gets the opportunity. You got to think at some point they're going quarterback. But I mean, they don't need tight end, I just they spent a bunch of money on receiver, and they suck at drafting. I don't know. The quarterback is it as far as offensively, I could see him doing that. And really, what else is there? I mean, does any of these rookie quarterbacks pop off for New England? I mean, because they have the 15th pick, they'd have to move up to do anything if they want to do something like that. So I don't know. I'm kind of stuck with New England. But so if you've got anything at all, because I feel like that was a terrible opening by me. but go ahead.
I'll say they have some potential in the draft to get their guy at least. I've actually built a spreadsheet where I've got all 259 draft picks. I have the teams, the spot. The Patriots, they've got 3 4th-round picks. So if there happens to be a receiver that starts to slip, they've got draft capital. They could package it together, trade up, get their guy, maybe an Elijah Moore type guy. That's when I think 3rd-round receiver in the NFL, that's the first name I think of. I believe he should go higher, but following mock drafts, that's where I've seen him go. They do have an interesting receiver. It was their best receiver last year, Jacoby Myers. I feel like he gets forgotten in all this. I have him as like a deep dynasty stash because Patriots wouldn't spend a ton of money, obviously at tight ends, and that's how their offense is going to run. But they gave big money deal to Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Aguilar. But Jacoby Myers shouldn't be forgotten. He's now their slot receiver. And I know people are going to go, they have Julian Edelman, but there's a lot of confusion going on in New England, actually, with Edelman. He may not be there in New England this upcoming season. There's been radio silence there between Edelman's camp and the Patriots camp. And I dug up the numbers. It's the last year of his contract. They could cut him. They could save money. I wouldn't be surprised because with Jacoby Myers, he was a very efficient receiver. A lot of advanced stats that stood out to me. That included one of my favorite stats, yards per route run. He had 2.41. That was number 8 amongst receivers. And that's a good stat. I know I've mentioned it on this podcast. Your top fantasy receivers dominate this stat. So Myers is a guy in dynasty leagues. If you're looking for a guy to acquire because there's all the hype about all the other guys I brought in, might be able to get Myers at a discount right now because Edelman, I think, is done.
I do really like that because I do like Jacoby Myers.
Mhm.
That was my worry is after these signings, like now he's fucking buried on the depth
I
chart.
don't think so.
Yeah, I
I know
like that.
because I was worried too, but I think the stars are aligning that you're going to have Nelson Aguilar more as your deep threat, like the Raiders utilized him last year. Kendrick
Mm,
Bourne is more of a possession type receiver. It's actually really good at contested catches.
mm,
And I see him and maybe N'Keal Harry like it being some type of a weird battle. If Harry's even on the team, he may get traded.
right,
Um,
right.
and and I know a lot of us, Edelman's been around for so long, we just go, oh, he's the slot receiver. I think he's done in New England. Like Brady's not there anymore, and Edelman is he's either 34 or 35, and he was injured.
Right, right. I know he's up there. Yeah,
Yeah,
coming off
it,
injury, all
and he
that.
didn't look good last year.
Yeah.
He might have had a good game in the first
Yeah,
game
he
or
had one
two.
game with Cam Newton that it was like, oh yeah, here we go, baby.
Yeah.
And then no.
So it's
All right.
my bold take on that one is Edelman's gone. He's going to get cut.
I do like that because I do like Jacoby Myers. So here's hoping for opportunity for him. More opportunity for him. Next team, next team, next team. This one's for Mr. Aaron. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, the Bengals. This will be great. Because I looked at their team. They could take a player in any of the offensive skill positions outside quarterback. You look at receivers right now. They have a Boyd and they've got Higgins, but their third receiver since they've moved on from AJ Green right now is Auden Tate. Not really an enticing name.
Hmm.
He got to play a little bit in 2019, so I think they're going to go receiver like day two. I don't have their draft picks that they have, but they have enough draft capital. I want to say they have a second and a third round pick.
Well, see, they're
They
at
could get a receiver.
five.
They have five.
No, I mean, and they're at
Oh,
five
they're
in the
at
first
five.
round. Sorry,
Yeah.
I should have said.
So,
You got the fifth pick in
and,
the first
and
round.
they could go chase. I think they'd be dumb to pass up an offensive lineman. You got a franchise quarterback. You got
That's what
to
I had for
draft.
mine. O
Yeah.
line. Get O
You've
line.
you've got to. If they get Chase, I know it's the LSU connection, but they just can't. But one of the things we need to watch too is they're a sneaky rookie running back destination. You look at
I
their
think so
top two
too.
guys. Yeah, Bernard's a free agent, and Bernard has been one of those guys I've been expecting them to move on from. Like they could cut him, they could save about $4 million, and they
Hmm.
have like no very little guaranteed money left on his contract. It's weird. Like usually in players, they run out of that guaranteed money, and then teams are quick to cut him, and you get someone else to play that role. And then Joe Mixon he could be cut after the season and save money if we see Mixon. Mixon had a weird season last year. He was
Right.
fed a huge volume, and between injuries and inefficiency, you were disappointed if you had him in fantasy.
For sure.
So
For sure.
if the Bengals, if they go, you know what, we just gave Mixon this extension, but it's not working out, they could cut their losses as soon as this upcoming offseason. So maybe they draft a running back. Like Mixon and Bernard were both second round picks. Maybe it's time for them to draft another running back in the second round.
Right. I could see it. I could see it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me feel any better about my tiny hope for Travion Williams, but it's just a little bit there. But yeah, that's what I had. O line. We'll move on to the next one. Steelers. It's the one team I didn't write down what fucking draft picks they have. Of course, I would get this team too. This definitely means I'm going to get the team I don't want. Watch. But it's not the Steelers.
It's not the Steelers.
No, I actually find the Steelers interesting because they could go a variety of routes. I would say they don't need to go wide receiver, but they seem to fucking do it every goddamn year. They could use a tight end. They could use a running back. Although I really would like to see Anthony McFarland get a little bit more opportunity just to see what he can do. I'd really like to see that. But it's possible. But that's what I look when I see this team. I'm like, they're not far off. They don't need receiver, but they're probably going to fucking get one. but they could use a running back, and they could use, what would I say, tight end? Sorry.
Yeah, tight end, and I'm with you. Like they could use a tight end.
Because I mean, like a Najee Harris. Does that feel Pittsburgh? That kind of feels Pittsburgh. But what does that do for McFarland? Because I think McFarland could still carve out a role. But I would just like, if they do take someone a little farther back, competition, we'll see how it goes. But they've been taking guys a little bit later, like, Benny Snell, Jalen Samuels. And I was a big fan of Jalen Samuels myself, never materialized. And so I don't know. It screams running back, this draft to me for Pittsburgh. But I really hope McFarland gets an opportunity next year, because I would really like to see it. And yeah, so that's my thoughts on Pittsburgh. If you've got anything quick to add, my friend.
Well, one quick thing I wanted to mention on Anthony McFarland is that he's bigger than what people think. People think he's this teeny tiny guy, and yeah, he's 5'8", but his BMI is 81st percentile. So I'm with you. I want to see McFarland get a bigger role, because he's not this fragile little thing that people are avoiding. He's
right.
stocky.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more. The Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills. All right. Buffalo Bills, you look at this team, they lost Emmanuel Sanders, but they gained Emmanuel Sanders. They lost John Brown. See, I'm already thinking the two players are the same. They kind of are this veteran, like speedy guy. At tight end, they made it interesting under the radar addition of Jacob Hollister. It's actually a guy that I think would be an interesting deep dynasty stash.
I did see that today.
Because you could probably find him on your waiver wire right now. He's 27 years old. He's been able to be fantasy relevant. You go back to 2019 with Russell Wilson, he averaged the 12th most fantasy points amongst tight ends. He was good. And what happens is when he's not always on the field, but when he's on the field, he has a very large hog rate. Past 2 seasons, he's been top 16 in hog rate. So when he's on the field, Seattle's utilized him, getting him the ball. And Dawson Knox has it locked down, that starting tight end role. Like, this is an actual competition between the two.
Yeah.
And with
my
Josh
brother,
Allen,
the Bills fan, has mentioned that he's not sold on Mr. Dawson Knox.
Yeah. You see some good things from him, but you still see some things where you're like, really? You're dropping the ball. Like, you have one job, Mr. Knox, and that's to catch the ball. You're not really known for blocking. So, and there's a Josh Allen connection with Jacob Hollister. They were teammates in Wyoming.
Oh, shit.
So there's Josh Allen already knows the way Jacob Hollister plays. I can see some connection there. For the draft, the thing I believe they need to do, and I don't know if they want to strike out again, but they've been going to the well for running backs. Past 2 years, 3rd round, they went Zach Moss last year, Devin Singletary the year before. Neither guy's the answer. Moss may be a change of pace type running back, or like this early down grinder, like a part-time guy. Singletary, it was so bad that even when he was the only running back, Buffalo just didn't run in the playoffs. They signed Matt Breida, but poor Breida. I wanted him to become a thing, but his running style got him so injured. He was never able to get a role. So
yeah, he just can't stay fucking healthy.
And Buffalo, they have – will they use the draft capital? That becomes the question. I'm looking first 4 rounds. They have their first, second, and 3rd round picks, no 4th round picks. Do they cover enough of their needs? I know they would like to address secondary, maybe offensive line. So that's something to monitor. Is the addition at running back may not come until day 3, and maybe not even till late day 3. So for Dynasty, still some hope for Zach Moss. Might be able to get him cheap if he left a sour taste in people's mouth. But I don't know if any of those running backs are really worth it. But if there's one position they're going to address in the draft, it's running back. Tight end, they've already done it in free agency. Receiver, they did it in free agency as well, and they've got decent depth as well.
I put running back, damn it. That's it. That's it. Spend the capital, the draft capital, get a guy. The problem is that as we've discussed, I mean, you'd take like the top 5 guys from last year's draft over the top guy in this year's draft, would you not? So that's part of the problem. Um, Next team, the Jaguars. Okay. This is pretty easy for me. They're gonna take Trevor Lawrence. So it's just fucking build around that dude. Except for at running back. Do not take a running back. Leave James Robinson alone. Leave him alone. Do not take a late day 3. Okay, I'm okay with that. Do not otherwise take a running back and build around Trevor Lawrence. So really you can add in here because that's really all I wanted to say. Do not take a running back.
And I avoided putting running back there because there's another position they desperately need. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is going to be the 101.
Oh, you're talking about tight end?
At tight end, absolutely. Like Tyler Eifert wasn't much for them last year, but
they traded Josh Oliver.
They traded Josh Oliver. It's a wide open depth chart. And we talked about tight ends on the last show. Like they don't even have to draft a tight end early. And the Jaguars, they have an abundance of draft capital. So here it is, the first 5 rounds, they have multiple selections in each of those rounds, except for the 3rd round. They have 10 total picks. Like they can get their guy wherever they want. So it'll be interesting.
They had the 1st and the 25th. I didn't know. Jesus.
Yeah. So they have draft capitals all over the board there. They can get their guy. It's 9 picks in the first 5 rounds. They can move up, down the board to get their guy. The one guy I'd like to see them get is I'm a big Hunter Long fan, and I'm becoming an even bigger Hunter Long fan. So either getting him, or they can kind of copy what their in-state rival team, the Miami Dolphins, did and get a Penn State tight end, Pat Fryermuth.
He's got the greatest name. Yeah, it just sounds so medievally. Fryermuth.
I love it. But they're not going to get Kyle Pitts, but that's okay. This is a draft class where there's 2 or 3 other tight ends they can take in the middle part of the draft. That's going to be just perfect. It will boost some rookie tight ends up people's rankings because there's opportunity. There is nothing there on that depth chart.
Right. It's very true. I couldn't agree more. I had tight end also under not a running back. Okay. Now, Mr. Aaron, you are up. And now we've got the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, the Titans. Okay. The Titans have a total of 4 picks the first 2 days of the draft. So this is a second, 3rd round along with the 1st round. They're gonna go wide receiver. They're also gonna go tight end. That depth chart right now, it's AJ Brown and nothing else. Like their second option is Anthony Firkser right now. And Firkser, he had some games. He concerns me.
They should bring Taywan Taylor back.
They can bring Taywan Taylor back because I think he's still a free agent somewhere. But it's so.
All I know is he was on Cleveland last year, and I picked him up just on the off chance,
just in case,
because I liked him too. But anyway, sorry to interrupt.
He had a good profile, but Anthony Firkser, he concerns me. He only plays 30% of the snaps last year. People go, they signed Josh Reynolds. You know what the contract details were on the Reynolds signings? It was a 1-year deal.
This is why I love you.
This 1-year contract is less than $2 million. Tevin Coleman got a bigger contract than Josh Reynolds. So Reynolds may not even make the team. That contract doesn't. Yeah,
that's what that says to me. Yeah, it's a possibility.
So to me, I go, he may win the number 2 job, or he might not even make it out of training camp. So they're gonna go receiver, like either 2nd round, 3rd round. Heck, they may take them. They may take a receiver late 1st round. They're gonna get a guy in the first 2 days. Now, just in case they don't, for whatever reason, take a wide receiver, there is a name to know that's on their roster that I don't I don't know if anyone's really keeping up with them, and it's Nick Westbrook. So
Oh, yeah.
I found something interesting about this guy because I know there was like a little bit of hype, but and I dug through his college stats there. He in his sophomore season, he had a 20% target share. And that's usually a number I look for in players. I go, huh, that registered as a breakout age, 19 and a half, that's 80th percentile. I was like, what happened? He just barely missed 1,000 yards. And then the next 2 seasons, he didn't do anything. But actually, there was a season, it was 2016 was the sophomore season. Then the next season was 2018. I was like, what the heck happened in 2017? Turns out he tore his ACL in the very first like play of the season. So tore his ACL, rehabs, he has to come back, get
You're not good in the first year after that shit.
I know. So it took a couple of years.
Not the same, I should say.
Yeah, it takes a while. You're right. Some of these guys, they're not Adrian Peterson. They're not coming back in 5 months from an ACL. And that ACL cost him draft capital. He signed as an undrafted rookie free agent last year in Tennessee. And the reason I mention him is, look, this depth chart, it's wide open. It's out alongside A.J. Brown. It's Josh Reynolds, who they signed. They have Cameron Batson, who he has an interesting profile, but he's been around the league 4 or 5 seasons. He hasn't done anything.
I remember Batson. Yeah.
So Nick Westbrook, hey, if you're in a deep, deep, deep dynasty league, that's a guy worth picking up. He's got size. He's like 6'3", 213 pounds. Why not?
Yeah, dude, I love it. I love it. I'm not lying. I'm going to get him in a few of these leagues because I know he's on some waiver wires.
So
absolutely. I'm going to stash that motherfucker. I love those kinds of stashes. I love it. Good shit, Aaron. Okay. Who is next? The Houston fucking Texans. What the fuck are you doing to me, hat? What are you doing to me? So
that's the one I wanted.
Do you want it?
I will take the Texans if you don't want them.
Take the Texans.
So do you put them on hold? You can put them on hold and draw someone else.
Just don't be the team I really don't want. Okay. Good. A team I like. Okay. The Cleveland Browns. I really think they need a wide receiver. Not a lot to the depth chart. Landry, Odell, they're just getting up there. Both have had injuries. Some even wonder if Odell will stay on the team. So I feel like wide receiver is the big one. Now they have the 26th pick. To me, that's wide receiver range. So could they be one of these teams to take a receiver in the first round? And if so, could we see that who would fall into that range? Like a Rashad Bateman, Jalen Waddle, someone like that. And I'm seeing a lot of good things and reading a lot of good things on this Terrace Marshall, by the way. I'm starting to like him a little. Starting to get, what's the word I'm looking for? Never mind. But for the Browns, that really is, to me, their biggest need, because they're set at running back. They're set at tight end. They got Baker. And again, wide receiver situation. Now they did re-sign Rashard Higgins. And that's Baker's guy. And he's a mysterious one, that one. But I dig him. So he is there. But yeah, it just feels like they could use a real injection of youth at that position. So that's what I got on the Cleveland Browns. You can add a little if you would like, and then move right on into the Texans.
Well, I wanted to mention 2 quick things I discovered about the Browns as I was preparing for them. And that's, do you know how many targets they vacated for this upcoming season?
No.
4.
I love vacated targets. 4?
4 targets. Singular, just 4. It's crazy because when you think about, they brought all the tight ends back. They brought all the running backs back. They signed, who's the other backup receiver? Kadarrell Hodge?
Hodge. Yes, yeah. Kadarrell Hodge.
God
damn it all.
It's so, I'm with you. Like they need to, they don't have like they have Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's intriguing. They don't have another young receiver. Higgins at this point's a veteran. But that's what, if they draft a receiver that early, it may be devastating for their rookie value, unless they move on from Odell. The other thing is they are in a position they can get a guy that starts to fall in the first round, because they have 6 total picks the first 4 rounds. They have duplicate picks in the 3rd and 4th round. So they've got some draft capital. Maybe not move up in the first round. That draft capital is more like if a guy in the 2nd round, like they're picking late in the 2nd round, guy starts to fall, they can package, say, one of those 3rd round picks, move up, get their guy. So Cleveland's in a good spot in the draft. I always like it when teams have enough picks to move up and down the draft board. They'll be fun to watch.
Definitely. I appreciate you crapping all over. It was so great. Oh my God, it made me laugh. Oh shit. No, you're right. I don't know why they go receiver that high unless they do move Odell, which is possible. But I look at their team and I'm like, they need someone young and badass to just come in there. That's what they need. And I feel like that would be a huge injection into their offense. And so that's where I was looking at it from. But you're right. I mean, man, that makes it tough. Now, I'll be honest, I forgot a little bit about Donovan Peoples-Jones.
I was sitting there and I crushed your dreams of Rashad Bateman to Cleveland. But who knows? Like, it's some of those he could take targets easily away from Higgins and Kadero Hodge, however many he got. He was involved for parts of the season,
right?
Inexplicably.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I just offensively, that's all I could think. That's really, again, the needs. And then you kind of pointed it out with the vacated targets too, though, that like really they don't even need that.
Yeah.
But they could use it. They may not need much on offense other than maybe, because I could see a lot of defense in this draft for them. And I figured that anyway, but they don't really need much at any other position.
That's a good spot to be in. That's a good spot. That's a good spot for an NFL team to be, where they can really enter this draft and not feel like they have to take a position. So good job, Cleveland. Like, their front office has cleaned up a lot of the mess that they inherited.
Yeah, it's done. They've done well. And Kevin Stefanski's the shit. Like I said, went to Cleveland. Good for Cleveland. Yep. Minnesota, you stupids. You keep Mike. Fucking Mike. Okay, I'm sorry.
We'll make Minnesota feel better with the team we're about to discuss here, the Houston Texans, right?
That's true. So that's true. Because I didn't have before you do this, and then just so you know, I'm gonna let you talk about the Texans. Then we're gonna take a break. We're at the halfway point, and all I have to say real quick about Houston is like they need everything. But how? They've got no picks, and they spent a bunch of money on all these running backs, and I just yuck to the entire situation. And now they've got fucking Deshaun Watson. Like, this is a fucking mess. But Aaron, on to you.
It's a mess. So we're going to address the one thing of the draft here. I believe everyone's aware of how messed up this franchise is. They don't have a 1st round pick. They don't have a 2nd round pick. Their first pick is the 65th pick in the draft, and it's their only pick they're going to make as of this recording in the first 2 days of the draft. They have 1 pick in the 3rd round of the first 2 days of the draft. So from the Dynasty perspective, what do? Brandon Cooks is going to feast. He's going to get all the targets because it's a bad team and everything. So the question I had is, who's the number 2 option here? It's not going to be a rookie. Like, what the chances of a rookie coming in 3rd round or later and being a number 2 option is slim. So if you're sitting there in your dynasty leagues, you're wondering who some guys I could pick up, depending on how deep your dynasty league is, you can pick some of these guys up. Jordan Akins is a guy, I've been a fan of him since last season, and before he got cheap shotted and had a concussion and a knee injury, He was having some big games to start the season. So
Mm,
Akins may be the default number two, but also Kiki Kuti. Like
that's who I was gonna say.
he's had a weird like up and down career thanks to Bill O'Brien like randomly putting him in the doghouse. But I like Kuti. Like what he did last season, he was good. He like Randall Cobb should not see the field anymore in Houston. They can't cut him. Like it costs more money to cut him than to keep him.
Right.
But Kiki Kuti should be the guy they put in the slot. There is this whole what are they going to do opposite of Cooks? I don't know. They're signing guys like who was the receiver that used to play for the Colts for years, and they went to the Patriots. You know who I'm talking about? He was a freak on player profiler, but could never put it together. That it doesn't matter. Like these are the type of
Yeah.
guys. Like they were signing guys that don't even play. Like that's the problem. Now the good thing is for dynasty rookie drafts, pay attention to whatever rookies Houston brings in because outside Brandon Cooks, that receiving pecking order is wide open. There could be an undrafted guy that by the end of the season cements his place as the number two receiver. Some other guys
Yeah.
to keep track of. Kahale Warring, and they had Isaiah Coulter, who was drafted by the previous regime. But these two guys, they're there, and there isn't anything else. And you could pick them up right now for free. And if they don't end up being part of the plan, you drop them. Oh well, it doesn't work out. But that's the thing that Houston. I can't even predict who they're going to get because,
Right.
as you mentioned, they've got holes all across the roster. But
How?
it's so bad. They're signing washed up guys to 1-year contracts, but pay attention to whoever they draft at any of the skill positions because it's a wide open competition for any of these spots.
Right. Right. That's pretty interesting. And I would say to that, if they do like definitely the undrafted route, but also if they don't do a whole lot, maybe they bring back Chad Hansen from last year because he had some really good
They
games
cut
with
him.
Watson, man.
They
Oh,
cut
they
him.
cut
That
him?
was the sad thing.
Oh, I thought he was just oh
They straight up released him, and I said, "No, you can't do that to Chad." I know they don't even
well, it's a
want
good it's a good fucking time to take. Sorry, go ahead.
they don't even want good players. They're trying to go 0-16.
Yeah, they're stupid.
Well, Chad may not
All
be
right.
good, but he was better than what they brought in.
Yeah, I was impressed with you know, a few games he played last year, and I was like, hey, still only 26, man. Maybe he can roll because I do remember him from earlier in the league. Like, okay, let's see. But I guess not. Okay, it's a good fucking time for a break.
Yep.
If you're discussing getting, dipping our toes into the slime that is the fucking Houston Texans. So, quick one, and we'll be right back to finish up teams from a hat. Okay, and we're back again. Bladders emptied once again, and on to the next team from a hat, and it's for me, the New York Jets. So obviously, they're going QB at 2. Now, we already recorded this once, so I'm not going to alter what I was going to say based on what Aaron's going to say. But basically, I would like to see them go running back high here because they've just got a collection of guys. And, it hadn't occurred to me with the connection to Salah, the Niners offense with, there's going to be the possibility that they do something similar. And you can expand on that since you did suggest it, and maybe they don't spend the high pick on the running back, but I would like to see them get one of the top guys to pair and put right next to, well, presumably Zach Wilson. I guess we'll find out on draft day, but that's what I would like to see from the Jets. It'd be fun, but I think overall you're right. And you mentioned when we did the first recording of this, but the whole don't draft a running back in the first round. It's very true. It in real life football, it's very true. So if you've got any extra thoughts, please, Aaron, and I will get a team ready for you.
So I'm going to elaborate a little bit with the Jets. We've all seen the same mock drafts. We've seen them mocked to take a running back in the first round, and I feel like that's the Jets of old. The Jets making a dumb decision, but their GM is Joe Douglas, that came from Philadelphia. The Eagles never took running backs that early. They may take a running back like Miles Sanders.
That's right.
Joe Douglas is there. I had to look it up. I was blanking on his name. And along with the 49ers coaching staff, Robert Saleh also brought Mike LaFleur as the offense coordinator. That's why we've been saying it's a 49ers offense. Like, you look back at the 49ers, what do? They get Jeff Wilson off the streets, Matt Breida off the streets.
Fucking Mostert.
Yep. They get these guys that are street free agents. Raheem Mostert, as mentioned, like this is a guy that played like 8 or 9 different teams before he even made it to San Francisco. So, yes, Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, we wanted to go there. You look at the depth chart, it's Ty Johnson, LaMichael P. Ryan, Tevin Coleman. Yuck. None of those guys are starting running backs. At best, they're a change of pace running back. There's one guy that's interesting if they want to do this committee, and that's Josh Adams. I know. Oh, yuck. The guy that hasn't done much the last couple of seasons, but he did have 500 yards rushing his rookie season. He had 5.2 yards of true yards per carry, which takes away long runs and stuff from the offensive line. And Adams, if you look at some of the advanced statistics there, like he was a very effective runner with the football and not much of a threat in the passing game. But if they're doing this 49ers zone offense, that may be tailor-made for a guy like Josh Adams. Hey, if you've got dynasty leagues with that have waivers before the rookie draft, it's a guy that's worth picking up and seeing what they do. Maybe they go ETN in the first round, and then you just drop Josh Adams. No worries.
I do have Mr. Josh Adams on at least one dynasty league, I know for sure. So good tip there. We move on to the next squad, and that is for you, my friend, the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, this is a fun one. All right. Love Miami. If I could pull up my notes here. Oh, there we are. Good old Miami. We've seen the mock drafts recently since they now have the 6th pick in the draft. We've heard Kyle Pitts. Oh my gosh. That would be quite the weapon to give their franchise quarterback. That's nice to finally say. We don't have to worry about him taking a quarterback. Their franchise quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. If not Kyle Pitts, they're going to get a receiver early. They could go Jamar Chase, pick 6. They may opt to go to different position and use their other first-round pick on a wide receiver. That's right. The Dolphins, they've got draft picks all over the board again. They know what to do. They may even trade down, get more draft picks. Well, no, they're not going to trade down for pick 6. They've already done their movements, but they're gonna get a weapon in the first round. Now, the interesting thing is I don't believe that they're going to go Najee Harris. This is another team like the Jets that they're mocked in with their later pick to grab a running back because everyone's like, they don't have anything. Now, you and I are fans of one Myles Gaskin. And yes. I believe he can still do the job. And I believe that you believe that too. If you look at the Miami Dolphins backfield and what this organization has done, they don't draft running backs early. They don't. This front office that's been together now going into its 3rd season of this rebuild, they know they can get a Myles Gaskin in the 7th round, a Salvon Ahmed. They can get him as an undrafted free agent off someone else's team. The Dolphins, they know that their draft capital has to go towards building their lines on both sides of the ball and their secondary. So as much as we want Najee Harris to go there, he's not.
I don't.
Yeah, like at best, there's going to be a run back, maybe third or fourth round. That would be the earliest they'd go. But I still think they wait till day 3 with the success they've had. Now,
Makes sense to me.
I want to drop one deep dynasty stash. A guy that started to show some signs of life at the end of last season. That's Lynn Bowden, the Swiss Army knife that they got from the Raiders basically for free. And they put him back in his natural position of wide receiver, and he was starting to make some plays. And they're going to draft a receiver.
Think so?
They're going to draft one early. Now, looking ahead, like after
the Dolphins,
season,
you think so?
Yeah. Dolphins going to go receiver. If they don't go Jamar Chase, they'll grab one of those guys late in the first round. I know they got a trio of talented guys. They got Devontae Parker, they got Will Fuller, they have Preston Williams, but I connected some dots here. You look at these 3 wide receivers. Will Fuller's a free agent at the end of the year. Preston Williams is a restricted free agent. Do we know if he's actually good? I think he benefited from opportunity that because there was no one there besides Devontae Parker. I'm not sold that Preston Williams will be on the team next year. And Devontae Parker, speaking of him, he could actually be a cut candidate next year. So all these 3, they're top 3 receivers. You can make a case for any one of those 3 guys moving on from the team and possibly multiple ones, which that's why I'm like, they'll take a receiver early to give Tua a weapon that him and his wide receiver they take first or second round are going to grow together as they build this franchise around Tua. And in the meantime, Lynn Bowden is a perfect like slot receiver. Like that's how they utilize him. That's the way to utilize him. Get a little short pass, then let him use his running back tendencies there to create after the catch. So Bowden's a guy that you'll want to see if you can maybe pick up from someone as rookie fever is approaching. Throw in a late pick. I'd rather have Bowden than a late pick right now.
Right. I like it, man. I like it a lot. And we move on to the next team. And I pretty much agree with you. I can see your logic on the wide receivers. Other than that, I like everything you had to say about the Finns, and I like what they're doing. With Tua. Now, finally, we get a team out of the West. Unfortunately, it's my turn, right?
It's your turn. Oh,
I did. I got my team. I got the team I didn't want to get.
The Raiders.
You want them? You want to trade again? Can we trade again? I want nothing to do.
We could trade again. I'm going to be the Miami Dolphins. What
my notes say. My notes for the LV Las Vegas. Yuck. That's all I have. That's all I have. It's all yours.
I'll do a Dolphins trade. We'll do a Dolphins trade. Give me a future first round pick. I'll take the Raiders. Okay. I'll let you pick another team.
Okay. Oh, that's right. That's what we'll do. Okay. And that was our first AFC West team. Crazy. And here's another AFC West team, the Chargers. Now, this is somewhere I could see Devonta Smith going at 13. It's one of those that's probably going to go in the first round and go high. And to me, it makes sense. It makes sense for what they have there. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Devonta Smith, if he can play at the next level, that could be something great to go along with Justin Herbert. Other than that, I mean, do they do something at running back? I mean, they have Eckler. They still have Justin Jackson, right? And then Joshua Kelly. So do they do something there? And really, I know there were those of us who had some hope for Donald Parham. And then some people were like, oh, Jared Cook. Me, I was like, oh, fuck Jared Cook. But you know who could really fuck the whole thing up would be a rookie tight end. So those are the two positions, at least on offense, that I really look at and say, I could see him adding a receiver. And it doesn't have to be the first round. It just, when I look at Devonta Smith, I feel like that's a landing spot he could go to, and it's actually kind of intriguing. And then the tight end position. But that's kind of where I sit with the Chargers. And feel free to add on before you dip into the Raiders.
Well, I agree with you 100%. It's you look at the Chargers and you go, that's what they're missing. They're missing a receiver because if they don't draft a receiver, do they really want to put Jalen Guyton back out there? Oh my gosh, like that guy is just a decoy. So they need to do something between Mike Williams, his injury issues, and Jalen Guyton being the next guy there, alongside obviously Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is great.
Oh, I still love Keenan. Yeah, I still love Keenan.
But I'm with you. I waited for him to sign a receiver. You waited for them to sign a receiver in free agency, and they didn't. So maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't sign a guy because they knew that they could get a receiver at their spot in the first round.
Right. And there's some guys later they could get in the second round as well. But I do like that, and I love the agreement on that one. So continue on next. To who did you have? Oh yeah,
I got the Raiders. The Raiders. Oh man, the Raiders they're a mess. I will try not to rag on them too much for the Kenyon Drake signing. I'm looking at their draft capital. They've got 8 picks in this draft, and the important ones are day 1 and day 2, the first, second, and third rounds. They've got a pick in the first round, pick in the second round, and 2 third-round picks. Now, I took some time to look at mock drafts, though, and for fantasy purposes, it doesn't look like there's going to be much expectations in rookie drafts. Most of these drafts have them going offensive line, defensive line, and secondary early and often in mock drafts. Who was the receiver? I can't pronounce his name. You mentioned him on the last podcast when we were talking about rookie receivers at pro days. It's Ikbor. It's like Josh Ikbor.
Josh Imatorbhebhe.
Yes, that guy.
Yes, sir.
I did see him mocked to the Raiders in the 4th round, but that seems to be for fantasy purposes. If they go receiver, that's where they're going to go. Is maybe late day 2. Or early day 3. At tight end, they're good. They've got the Walrus, Darren Waller, and the backup is one of my favorite guys to pick up in waiver wires, Foster Moreau. That guy is a stud. I hope he's going to be
stud in waiting.
When he gets a chance, he's going to make a 20-yard play. Guy's got the athleticism for days. I picked him up. Someone in my league dropped him this offseason. I picked him up because I might have to be a little patient. I don't know if he's going to have to leave Las Vegas or if Darren Waller moves on. But either way, I know that what I've seen from this guy in the small sample size, that this guy can play tight end in the NFL. So Foster Moreau is a guy to watch. They're not going to go tight end early. Running back, imagine if they go running back like second round to go Josh Jacobs and the ill-advised Kenyon Drake signing. And you know what? Let's put Najee Harris there. Let's give them an Alabama trio of running backs. Oh, that would be Las Vegas. That would be John Gruden at his finest. But just looking at what they've invested so far, look at mock drafts, don't expect much fantasy impact from rookies.
Right. I would agree with that. And yuck, one more time. And I would also say, totally agree on the Foster Moreau thing, as did I with your previous mention of who was the other one. Oh yeah, Mr. Kahale Warring from the Houston Texans. So yes, 2 very good names. Guys I love that I still got that flicker of hope for. Yes, I do. Moving on. The Colts. Well, this one I'm going to be honest. I had a tough time because I look and I feel like they're set at a lot of places, but they could really use a badass fucking tight end. Now, I had a little bit of love for Mo Alley Cox, but you've got Trey Burton there. And it's like I don't care about him. He's still there, right?
He's a free agent right now.
Oh, Trey Burton is? Oh,
Trey
okay.
Burton's a free agent.
They tendered Moali Cox,
Yeah.
right?
And so
Okay.
they tendered him, and they still have Jack Doyle. That might have been the other guy you were thinking of. So
That's right. They do still have Jack Doyle. So I believe they need to take a tight end. They need a badass tight end. And this is where I would like to see my beloved Brevin Jordan go to the Indianapolis Colts. And in part because just think of Frank Reich and Carson Wentz back together. And I'm not even the biggest Carson Wentz fan, but them back together. And they'll need somebody to be their Zach Ertz, right? And it's not Jack Doyle. I mean, he's white, but I mean, it's not Jack Doyle, I don't think. So, and I do like Mo Alley Cox, but I don't think it's him. It's just if it was going to be him, I feel like it would have been him by now. But Brevin Jordan, this is the one spot I really, really like for him. And that's basically what I have on the Colts. Otherwise, I do see them doing a lot of, work on both lines potentially. And then of course you want to add to who is their stud in the secondary? Why can I not think of his name? Or is he a linebacker?
are you talking about Darius Leonard?
Darius Leonard.
Darius Leonard. There we go.
Thank you so much.
I love the Colts. Like I like what they've been building for years. So that's why I'm quick to have that name for Darius Leonard.
Yes, Darius. Well, I get confused because there's him, and then who's the kid for the Chargers? He's gotten hurt. Damn.
What's up? The name I think of when I think Chargers is Joey Bosa, but I don't know if that's
No. He plays in the secondary. I would think this is who I was thinking of in the secondary, and then, yeah.
Right. I'm not thinking of his name. Sorry, I'm being fantasy football. It's like I can list every single offensive player, but when it comes to defensive players, I'm like I don't know, except for the Colts. Apparently,
it's crazy. I feel like I'm with you, man. It's like why it's defensive player, but even this one I should know. Okay, hold on.
But while you're looking that up too, I want to mention with like
Derwin James.
Yeah, phenomenal. Yeah. That guy's all over the field, and he got hurt right before this past season.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
But the Colts, this is a weird year in the draft for them. They usually have a plethora of picks.
I did notice that.
Like they don't have as much this year. I'm looking. They've only got 6 picks. They've got a pick in each round except the 3rd round. And you hit the nail on the head. They've got some holes they've got to address. That 1st round pick may be to address the right tackle position. There's still some NFL starting caliber tackles on the free agent market that they are going to wait till after the draft if they can't get their guy. But I'm thinking they go offensive line or defensive line. They need to replace some veteran guys there. So 1st and 2nd round may go for that. And Brevin Jordan was a perfect guy to mention because I see him going in that like 3rd, 4th round. So he'll be within striking range of when the Colts have a pick. The tough thing is they just don't have extra picks to like trade up to secure his services there. But you're right. They got to have a guy. Mo Alley Cox is on a 1-year contract. Jack Doyle, if it's not an expiring contract, they can cut him at any time to save cap room. So they're in need of getting a tight end to at least secure future depth.
100% agree. All right, now it's your turn. Yes, your turn. Oh, back to the AFC West for the Kansas City Chiefs.
The Chiefs. Yeah. Well, they should go offensive line after watching the Super Bowl. But for the sake of fantasy football, they have their draft picks. They have multiple draft picks, but all their picks are late in the draft. This is going to be a perfect spot for a rookie wide receiver. If you look at the attempts, I almost said moves, but they didn't actually make moves. They tried to bring in Juju, and they couldn't. They've been trying to bring in a guy to replace Sammy Watkins. Is that replacement going to be in the draft? We'll see. I know I've got a buddy that's a diehard Chiefs fan that goes, they're going to draft Rondale Moore, aren't they? Which would fit that range, like that late second round.
Right.
My goodness, Rondale Moore with Mecole Hardman. Well, Mecole Hardman, but also Tyreek Hill. Like, you got some speedy guys out there.
Right.
One guy that's on their team to watch is Byron Pringle.
I love the Pringle man. I love that guy.
Once you pop, the fun don't stop. And Pringle has been a seldom used player in his career, but he had some impressive numbers at college. He has large target shares, and the coaching staff, they always love the guy. They talk about how hard he works in practice. And what I did notice, one impressive trend, doesn't get a lot of playing time, but the past 2 seasons, he's had 2 games where he's played 80% or more of the snaps. His stat lines in those: 6 catches, 103 yards, and a touchdown in 2019. And then last year, 4 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown in 2020.
Yes, sir.
You put him on the field and he makes plays. And he fits more of Sammy Watkins' role. Like, Mecole Hardman's already got his own unique role in this. So right now, to replace Sammy Watkins internally, it would be more of a Byron Pringle role, because they have Demarcus Robinson. Robinson, better NFL player than a fantasy player. Like, he does nothing in fantasy football. But right. Mecole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson, they've got their roles. Pringle would be the veteran guy that would benefit the most in Dynasty. But I'm also looking for them to get a guy 2nd, 3rd round. Maybe they shock us all and they go wide receiver in the 1st round, but I feel like addressing their offensive line, maybe on defense, would be the better investment with the 1st round pick.
I like it. They definitely, I could just see him doing it. It's kind of like, because they've been doing it. It's almost kind of like Pittsburgh, make sure they draft a wide receiver.
Yep. Except they're not as good at drafting receivers.
That is 100% true. Right now, there's 2 teams left. I'm hoping for one. I didn't get it. Oh, the Baltimore Ravens. Okay. I mean, they've got running backs. They've got Lamar. They could use some help on the defense. I mean,
they just never pass,
Yeah, I mean,
we should have known when we mentioned Sammy Watkins that the next team was going to be the team he signed with.
But see, this is what I wondered. I mean, because Sammy Watkins is there, but that's something what I wondered, because they did sign Dez Bryant last year. Because you see, they draft smaller, speedier receivers, and it's like, okay, but he really likes tight ends. So when I get him, a bigger dude, and you see, and not that Dez Bryant was great, because let's face it, it's Dez Bryant at this present time, but once great Dez Bryant, I mean, that's the kind of player, of wide receiver that I feel like Lamar could really use, and then occasionally hit the deep threat. So that's kind of where I feel like, and that if they're going to do that, that's where they should go. Now, who fits that in this receiver class? I mean, I was hoping kind of Bateman, right?
I know. Now we're back to being depressed about the rookie class.
I know. Yeah, so we'll leave that be. So yeah, that's kind of like it's like, yeah, I could see him going after a wide receiver, but other than that, it's they're set as far as we're concerned with. I mean, because even wide receiver, man, I like guys like fucking Boykin, Miles Boykin, and James Prochet, and Duvernay. Yes. I like these guys. So like, I don't know.
The James Prochet in particular, that was a guy that I just loved watching. I mean, small school guy, I get it, but Prochet was absolutely dominant at SMU, which I get it. It's SMU.
Right. But still, Yeah. So I'm with you on James Prochet. I'm with you, like, I guess not on anything else because that's the other thing you said. But that's all I got though. I mean, I just, they're, as fantasy wise, they're set. I would say, do they add a tight end? And maybe they still do later on in the draft. But I mean, they traded for Josh Oliver. Must have done that for a reason, right? So I'm assuming they want to get back to, using another tight end in that way, like they did with Hayden Hurst, and Josh Oliver's perfect. Now, does that mean they don't draft somebody? No, that would be the other position. But I just, I guess I would have expected if they were going to do something more, like, wouldn't they have tried to do something last year when they were kind of like, okay, we kind of could use more receiving help, and how much is on the coaching staff? Because you heard last year all the talk about, Lamar, like, they know our fucking plays before we run them and all this shit, and like, so I don't know. I almost feel like that's a bit of that, just the whole wide receiver thing is but they brought in Sammy Watkins, and they were trying to bring in other dudes, Juju. So I mean, like, obviously they wanted somebody else, and it may turn out okay for Sammy. We'll see. We'll see.
You just gotta
But
stay
that's what I
healthy.
got. So you get the last team,
I believe I know it too, but go ahead. Go
and
ahead, the Broncos. Oh
I'm
yeah.
just gonna hijack it for just a second. If Carolina is gonna roll with Darnold, do you think the Broncos would make a move for Trey Lance?
That's
Yes,
my
I can
first
see
bullet
it.
point. That's my
Is it?
first bullet point because I'm going big with this one. If you look at what Denver's done with their team, like you look at the roster, most of the other roster spots are set. They even brought back some of their older players when you go, this wasn't a good team last year. Why are they spending so much money on a safety? Bringing back Von Miller, who is at an advanced age now, coming off an injury. It's
Mm,
like they are setting themselves up to prepare for one big playoff push. And the only thing they're missing is a quarterback. And by
right.
golly, do what it takes, Denver. Where's Denver pick? Are they pick 9? Is that right? Pick
Yes.
9. Pick
9.
9. Do what you need to do to move up from pick 9 to pick 4. You get Trey Lance, or if it's Justin Fields that falls, you get
Fuck
your
yeah.
quarterback
Who
because
cares? Either one.
Drew Lock, he ain't it.
No.
He
I
ain't
had
it.
hope for him. I'm not gonna lie. I thought maybe he could be that gunslinger type. I didn't feel like he was a statue. He could move around a little bit. And so I had hope for him, but he's just been, yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you, I was all about Trey Lance going to Carolina. But after that Sam Darnold trade, I thought, well, the only other team that has a realistic chance of bringing him in and like starting from maybe not day one, but starting in the first season is Denver. And I thought,
Great
Court,
minds think alike.
yeah, Cortland Sutton coming back from a torn ACL. At least the ACL was torn way back at the start of this past season. He should be ready to
Mhm.
go by the time this season starts. They've got Jerry Jeudy, who there was some ups and downs, but he flashed his talent there. Now in his second season, people ragged on him about drops. Oh, well, I don't care about drops. Dawson Knox
Mm.
dropped 20% of his passes in his rookie season, and he cut it in half the next year. Drops change from year to year. Jerry Jeudy showed the talent there. They have KJ Hamler, the speedy guy to help spread out the opposing defense. Tim Patrick as a fourth wide receiver. And Patrick is, you can line him up at any of the receiving spots and he can do his job. At tight end, you have this duo of Noah Fant and Albert. I'm just going to call him Alberto.
Alberto. Yeah.
I'm not
They
going to
did. Yeah.
butcher that
Yeah.
last name, but you got two
I
tight ends running a sub 4.5 40-yard dash. You've got these freakish athletes in the receiving game. All you need is a quarterback with a big arm, like Trey Lance, like Justin Fields, and both of those quarterbacks have mobility. So for fantasy football, I'm all aboard those running quarterbacks because running quarterbacks are gonna
fuck
score
yeah.
points. Now, this one quick little tidbit with the Broncos is they are a sneaky rookie running back destination. because Melvin
I
Gordon
agree.
found himself in some trouble in a DUI situation. That means we can expect him to possibly serve a 2 or 3 game suspension. And behind Melvin Gordon, it's wide open. We've talked in the past
Yep.
about Mike Boone, who
We like him, but yeah,
he's got some athleticism to him. Now, is he a guy that's going to get a lot of work? I don't know. He's
yeah,
had some games where they let him run wild, but at this point, he's been in the league like 3 or 4 years. We know what he is. He does his job on special teams. I I'm not ready to go that this is a guy that can handle the workload if Melvin Gordon misses time. Royce Freeman, my goodness, I don't know what happened to that guy, but
I don't know.
he's dust. The only other running back that they have of note, and it's not even really of note, but I'm familiar with him, is Levante Bellamy. Yes,
I like him.
I like him too. I like the skill set he brought. It's probably duplicated by what Mike Boone brings, but Levante Bellamy, to those that don't know him, because he didn't do really anything in his rookie season, but he's a converted wide receiver from Western Michigan, so a small school guy. But hey, with scat backs, those smaller running backs, what I like is if they've got a wide receiver background, I'm interested. In PPR, at least they're catching passes. Chris Thompson made a career out of that, of being the guy that you could plug into your RB2 spot. So Bellamy is worth watching. He's definitely available in all leagues.
Oh,
Mike Boone may be available. I think the leagues I've seen, he's been picked up, and that's the right move. Right now, I'd say Mike Boone's the backup. Royce Freeman, man, he may be cut. That's what I got with Denver, is they're gonna make a big quarterback move. They're the last team, and maybe they've patiently waited their time. Now they need to do their big move to get their quarterback.
I agree.
All the receivers and tight ends are back, so maybe late in the draft here they'll get something at running back. They've got a lot of third-round picks, or sorry, a lot of seventh-round picks, a lot of day 3 picks. They got 3 picks in the 7th round, so they may get a running back 6th, 7th round to throw in there to compete. But they need to think about the possibility of Melvin Gordon missing time because of the DUI.
I do agree with that. Because that's the other position I had written down, was running back as well, because they're just set at wide receiver and tight end. Okay. Well, that was fun. Absolutely. Let's fucking wrap this tea party up. And I just got to say, I'm super excited for the NFC one next week. It's going to be fucking awesome. I got to say, this was enjoyable. It's unfortunate I didn't pick the Broncos. It's unfortunate I did pick the Raiders and the Texans. Oh, the hat was not fond of me, but it was fun nonetheless.
Sure.
All right, man. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you for joining me, Mr. Aaron. Don't forget, check him out on the Twitters at AaronStew09. That's right. Aaron, any final thoughts, my friend?
I had a blast joining for the game of hats here. I love covering all these teams. Can't wait to do it for the NFC.
Yes, definitely. All right. We're getting the fuck out of here. Everybody, have a great week. Much love. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. Stay mad. Until next time, ta-ta for now. Laters!